In terms of suicide and self-destructive behavior, we really see the negative thoughts that people experience as existing on a continuum, and the kinds of self-destructive behaviors people engage in as existing on a corresponding continuum, and that one very much influences the other, that how a person's thinking about themselves has a lot to do with how they're likely to behave. And if you look at these negative thoughts as they go down the continuum that we've outlined, first there's just self-critical thoughts of everyday life that we all experience to one degree or another, and thoughts leading to self-denial, or just something that makes you less invested in life. And this is important in terms of suicide, because the more investment, or quotes, hooks into life you have, the less likely you are to kill yourself. So thoughts that discourage you from engaging in activities that might otherwise have meaning to you, and thoughts discouraging you from engaging in relationships and getting more involved with other people, again, hooked into life. Then there's the very vicious, self-abusive thoughts, the way a person just tears themselves apart, rips themselves apart. And these may have no basis in reality, but the ways that the person really hates themselves, that leads to a lot of the deep psychological pain and distress and perturbation that contributes strongly to suicide. Then you move down to level 7, where a person is thinking that they don't matter, that people would be better off without them, that they're a burden to other people, that people would feel better if they weren't around. Then you move down to level 10, where the thoughts are planning the details of suicide. Where, when, how are you going to do it? Now, some people can sit and think about these thoughts for a long time, especially the ones planning the details of suicide, and that can be almost enough. It's almost like a self-soothing mechanism for them to think about the details of suicide. At the moment of the suicide attempt, I think the person is in a very dissociated state. They're very disconnected from themselves. But then taking that action really reconnects them with themselves. It's like they snap back to themselves. It's like, wait a minute, I don't want to die. They're back connected to themselves. They're back in their own real point of view. Instead of being in this anti-self system being dominant, they're back to their self system. And they're like, wait a minute, I don't want to die. And I think that's our natural animal nature, to try to survive, to gasp for every last breath. I think suicide very much goes against our basic desire to live. If you look at what happened with the 28 people who survived jumping off the Golden Gate Bridge, what should be a 100% lethal suicide attempt, they all say the minute they jumped, they wish they hadn't. This part of them that wanted to live kicked back in. And all of them are alive today except one, and some of these were 50 years ago. So these are people who at one point in time were very suicidal, but when faced with that ultimate situation, they really wanted to live.